Okay, so I've got Frank in this kind of position. So
Okay.
in this position, you can go 50,000 different ways. Now, right now, I'm not going to be dealing with the way Ariana's head is. Her head's down, she's happy. We're going to be dealing with the chest cavity and right underneath the shoulder girdle to start out with, okay? Now, because of the way Frank is wired, I can't bring him other than he's going to go on a 90-degree angle versus the arm going out like this. So
what is the ideal position in terms of Ariana? Should her knees be touching the floor, her elbows be touching the floor, her head up? Well, if you were able to really...
there's no ideal position. It all depends on what your goals are with that sessions. I can be working in all fours, and this is what I was going to do first, is again going back to her breathing. I want her breathing to come back out through the back of the chest. Kiddos that have been lying down a lot in their life only breathe out through the front of the chest. That's one of the things I'm really trying to articulate in the book, is that if you just bottle feed a child, or worse, NG tube or G tube, it's not that bad. That's a bad thing. I get it that you're feeding the child. At the same time, though, that child's losing function off of breathing, being in those positions.
Yeah.
So again, if the brain's going, I've got to breathe in this position, it's going to save breathing first and not going into play or being on all fours or whatever. So you really want to make sure that she's in a position where her breath function is okay, that she's got a good relationship to gravity in this position. So it's a really simple movement. I know we've sort of covered it before when Frank was lap dancing on me on Friday and stuff, but so I'm just going to go underneath to support the rib cage, but also to get feedback. Again, my real estate's there. I'm just underneath the shoulder, but I'm seeing again how she's breathing against my hand. I can feel here where the top part of the upper arm is in relationship to me. Also, when you've got your hand underneath, you can feel if the head's starting to go where it's looking up or doing whatever. Now, if she were to get uncomfortable and she wants interaction, then
she
yeah,
wants to keep her. Every time I just touch her chest cavity, her head will go up.
Okay. Well, first of all, she really needs a tissue. So.
Oh my goodness, baby. Should I support her head in this, or?
Well, that's what I was about to say. If you want, though, I put, again, underneath, I want my arm on the rib cage, so now I am supporting the head. But I don't want to support the head, see, where my hand is totally away from the body. I want to go in for the coochie coo.
Okay.
Because I need that feedback for the rib cage. Now, if I'm supporting the head, instead of going here then, I'm going to go underneath, see where my hand would be into the lower abdomen, and then into the lower floating rib cages. And so where I'm going to go here is I'm just, again, it's a light rotation, and I'm just going to go in for a ride there, but I might work with that person's breathing. So as they breathe in...
Can you describe the rotation again?
It's just...
okay.
Very, very simple. But I want the rib cages in a sense to go along.
And what is going on with your head rotation, your other hand, as you're rotating that way?
I'm looking for feedback. Is the most of the breath going still into the chest cavity, or does it start to come up through the back of the back? So I don't
feel a little bit just right away going to the back.
Right. I don't want my hand lying on her, so my weight alone is going to supersede her ability to float. So it's so my fingers are going to be bent. But when my fingers are bent, it's not claws. I'm just going for that nice, soft. And also you'll start to see, or it should start to happen where her neck frees up as you do this.
Am I going all along the spine or staying at the lower?
Right now, I just want to stabilize the system. And see, this is where you have to watch your trajectory. Let's say if I was going up here, now I'm going to be on this arm much more because I don't want this hand here. See the difference if I did this? This is too much for her system when you're working with a child with tonus. So at that point, I need to go above. So now I have this much more to support and have that much more muscles going on in the shoulder. So to me, that would be a totally different movement, maybe going underneath here where I'm doing the neck.
I see.
Do you see how then I'm protecting my system more. The more I use muscles, the more it's going to affect my touch.
Okay.
But that just comes with just practice and also who you're working with. If I'm working with the baby, I can get away with more. Well, this Frank's a full-grown adult, so for me to go do detailed work on his head right now, he wouldn't like me as much if I go around and do the complete opposite to work on his head there.
So I feel breathing more towards her side, coming out to the side, not so much in her back.
Right. And that's fine. It's just as long as it's out there. You've got your thumb here that you can relate to those issues, or those can. But also, what you can start to do too is just a light lift. Now, I wouldn't even call it a lift. I'm not doing anything. My rotation now is just like this. But what I'm doing is again applying just a little bit of pressure into the rib and letting go.
Mm.
So, and it's probably more from my palm heel doing that work.
Okay.
So just so you see it on there, so I'm just kind of thing.
Okay.
And then again, and once I've activated again, maybe more of the side ribs, and now I'm going to go back and just go to the top part again. So I haven't moved my hand per se. This is going into the ribs. And now this is going along the vertebrae, pulling down. So see, hand position hasn't changed, but my total force has changed.
So the one move is going in like you were doing, pressing and then lifting, and the other is a slight rotation?
Every move I make is always with a slight rotation, but what I'm doing here is I'm rotating and I've got my hand on her jaw, so I'm looking for almost an extension down the back as well as the breath. But when I go into the sides, that's completely different. This would be activating the opposing shoulders when I'm just going in here. Now, you can do this same movement here, looking for that extension, if I came over to the ribs over to the side.
So I don't understand how the second move was going to the sides.
Here?
Yeah. How is that side versus just going, pushing down and a slight rotation, but...
It is pushing down, slight rotation, but again, it's that breath. So here, so if I breathe, so if I'm like this on myself, so if I breathe out, let's say, then I'm just rotating in on the side, and then as I breathe in, and I can come back out.
I see.
But it's like this. So
it's like that, and that's... Can you do the difference between the first move and the second move?
So the first move, see how I kind of like rotate and pull down?
Yeah.
Now you can do this movement, you can do it up on the chest cavities. This, this is a movement you can do all through the rib cages. You can torque the whole chest cavity, do that movement. So see how I'm bringing this hand over and going in, so it slides the sternum. This is great, especially because she has the trach. That trach is going to make especially this part of the sternum want to stay in a position that's different because it's getting feedback off the plastic.
Okay.
So this is a nice little move where she's lying on your back and again watching TV or whatever, versus going chest down. And this is also, if you squeeze this way, well, this is, I'm reaching over. See how I have to have a tight squeeze through my sternum, or this is me putting on my shoes. Or going into a somersault. So the chest cavity needs to make those kind of rotations, but you can do it really from these kind of movements and using like I'm squeezing myself on purpose. That's the same scenario that I would have here with Frank. See how I have my arms around and I'm going in for that kind of movement.
Got it. So every time you're pressing down a little bit, are you lifting Frank's head slightly up?
I'm looking for that extension of the back, so it'll give the illusion that I'm, quote, lifting it up, but my intention really is for that extension through here.
Got it.
But this is where he's a piece of plastic and he's going to react a little bit differently than what I'm used to, because again, what I'm looking for is that counterbalance. So it's a seesaw. So when her head's down all the time, which is a fine position to be in. She's not getting that kind of counterbalance. In that position, that's where I like the video that I just did in all fours. That's where maybe you'd be working on the counterbalance from elbow to elbow.
Yeah.
Right? But what I'm
Could
looking
we do that later?
Yeah. But what I'm looking for is as I lift my head up, my lower back goes down.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for in my touch. I'm not working on that per se. Right now, like I said, I was working more on the breathing, but that will be one of the benefits.
Okay.
And this is where it looks like I'm looking for bugs on a monkey. I really can get in there and you'll see me with the kiddos and I'm just looking for just those little spots that just seem out of touch or lack of awareness. Lots of times underneath the scapula, those ribs don't move as nicely as they should. And if that's the case, even though she's looking here, I might be bending the head a little bit as let's say if I'm sliding the rib towards me, where I'm countering through the head to the opposing side. So as I'm bringing his left side to me, then I might just have an equal, just a little bit of a force to the right.
Okay.
Just like I was explaining when he was on my lap, you know what I mean? I'm always looking for that kind of center counterbalance versus this. See how that's much more head activity?
Yeah.
Again, this is bringing him over to his elbow, I get it, but that's not working. I'm working on here. So see, when I bring his head, even if he's looking this way, away, see how it stabilizes his spine much more and allows just that breathing to happen. That's what I'm working on.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the only thing is, you can do 50,000 different things. They're just different movement qualities on the system, and you just have to appreciate that and understand it.
Yeah.
That's why I'll never look at anybody and say, you're doing that movement wrong. You're never doing a wrong movement, but it's just, again, what's your intentions on the movement on that system and their functions? And that's where people have to get clear, because lots of times they have an intent on how that system should move and function.
Right.
And even though I do have an intent of that counterbalance, I still am looking to see how Frank or whoever is responding to my touch at that time.
Understood.
Now, if I wanted to go more severe and this was more of a ball thing, or I could, let's say at this point, go underneath the abdomen, but don't do this with her per se, just then I can work on, again, head stability and the back pelvis tilt.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Wait, where's your other hand?
Underneath. I'm going underneath to the lower part of the rib cage on the right side, but my other hand is right against the pelvis on the left side to stabilize it.
Okay.
If my hand wasn't on the pelvis, then I would be getting a roll.
Got it.
And that's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for, again, really the counterbalance of the spine by lifting up the underneath the ribs. And when I lift it up, I'm lifting it up into this area that I've been working into. So again, I'm getting that intentions of the ribs going back and forth like this.
Okay.
And then, again, if I just did that for a couple of times, I'll come back and see if this made a difference. Now, what that should have done is start to loosen up the vertebrae in this section of the back. This is what I'll never get with Frank because he's just
I
rotting.
feel some breathing through my fingers.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, you should be doing that at all times. At all times, that's your intentions of your touch. You've got 5 receptacles, not including the whole palm. You should be able to feel pulse, breathing, changes in clothing, changes in temperature, senses and balance. Again, this is where I went back to just having that tray in my hand. You know what I mean? You should be able to start feeling all of these movements through the body, through your fingers. That's why I don't rely on my eyes. You don't see me going, oh, what was this?
Michelle,
Here?
she's breathing through her back.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's so cool.
And that's what's neat about if she's starting to breathe through her back again. Now let's say you can be under the belly. Just a couple of light touches. Now you're still stabilizing the head, but again, what you're looking to do now is start to activate or sway this part of the spine. So see this whole midsection where the vertebrae come into, right? Have very little movement in a way of, again, that counterbalancing. So this is where my years of belly dancing pays off. See, I can do all of this all through my midsection. So if I wanted to do circles this way, do you know what I mean? I can lift my chest and do a circle. If I wanted to do circles this way, then I can do it this way. If I wanted to do it counter, I can do it. If I can do a counter, so I don't have to really think about what I am doing. I'm not saying it looks pretty and people would throw money at me, but I'm just saying I have an awareness, so if I need these movement qualities, my brain calculates that into what I need to do. And let's say if I want to go put my shoes on, that's not when I want to collapse my chest, you know what I mean, and try and put my shoe on. That's when I want to rotate, you know, that I can bring my foot up here. Am I putting my shoe on here? Am I putting it in here? Am I doing it here? I need these qualities in the chest cavity. So it's the same thing with going.
When you are putting your hand on on Frank's stomach, is it palm open? Like, how does your palm look, and where are your fingers?
Yeah, do you remember I've done it to you when you're laying on your back, and I just put a couple of times my hands down onto your chest.
Yep.
And release, because I want your spine to sink into the table. It's just that complete opposite. It's just in my pizza hand, I'm going to go right underneath here, and I'm lifting the abs. But see, by doing this with the head up, see the difference in extension and that counter versus if I'm not holding Frank's head, see how he'll dip.
Yeah.
So what I'm not looking for is a dip at this moment. I want his spine to start looking up. And that is the beginning of, quote, going up onto all fours.
Okay.
It's this part of the back.
Got it.
So if I were down on the ground and I go to bop up, it's almost like there's a string right here. And it goes boop, and it brings the babies up.
Okay.
But they learn that first by breathing. See, this is what I was getting to in my book. If a baby can't do this when they're breathing, how do you expect them to do it going up on all fours?
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing is that if you can catch these in infants right at birth, well, my God, you know, what a difference you're going to do with their overall development, because later on when they have to do a more complex version of the same thing, they've got it. But that's why when you don't have babies sleeping on their belly anymore, you don't do tummy time, they're in a car seat too much, all of this gets screwed.
Right.
There's better words in English,
Thing
but...
with the right around the spine all the way across the body to the side.
Yeah, so we can go to the spine right now because we've got a lot of the... you understand the basics of what I'm working on here. Now she's okay in her belly?
Yeah. She's
Okay.
happy.
I'm just moving camera
She's
equipment.
happiest when she's doing movement lessons.
I know. Well, but that's what Graham did. He got all upset this morning. First thing he came to me, will you work on my arm? No.
Oh.
I need to move it. That's what my kids do. Gordon's coming in after you for a lesson.
That's great. Do
So,
they have to schedule time with you?
yeah, they do. I had 2 openings right now. I could have given you a 2-hour session. I'm working on my children.
You have to.
So,
Priority.
So what I'm doing here, and this is where I can't wait. I just got my chest thing for my GoPro. I should have had it set up, but you know, I need to. So I can grab Frank to make it more obvious. What I'm looking to do is lift the area here, the vertebrae.
Let's see your other hand, your elbow, your left elbow. Okay.
So I'm here.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
But I can't obviously go in Ariana and just grab her vertebrae.
Right.
But this is where I like Frank, is just the intent of the idea. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to come down to the sacrum area, right? And so I'm still underneath the chest cavity before. Now I'll take this hand away just so you can see it. It's much clearer on my camera. That's where it's nice about the camera. I have the camera way up high looking down, whereas this, I can only go as awkward as the iPad is. But what I'm going to do here is put my hand on the tush, and I'm slowly just rotating. But here, I'm going to change the iPad just for a second to give you the crotch shot. Okay, look at the rotation. See the rotation, how it's like a ball.
Yeah.
So I'm not left-right. See the difference?
Yeah.
See the rotation?
It's almost like a U, right?
So I've got my palm heel right on that tailbone,
Okay.
and I'm doing like a windshield wiper.
Got it.
So see this, but see how it's a pre-crawl. Now Frank's really getting it. See how that's a crawl?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she is having, and sometimes, again, on knees, she's really good at keeping her knees together. If the kids like to kind of go into that frog position, is there anything you can recommend to?
Right now, I'm only dealing with, we'll probably, if she's up to it, the 2 o'clock one, I'm going to do more with the knees and stuff.
Okay. Perfect.
Right now, we're only working on how the spine is reacting to all of this.
And while we're doing this pelvis motion, what are you doing with the chest?
So I'm just like I was before. I can either support her head, or I'm coming underneath the chest cavity.
Okay.
Now the chest cavity might roll, so I can pick it up a little bit. Let's say if the child was really looking forward type thing. But right now we're going to stick where Ariana's at. But I'm across the sternum. Now I can support the head with the finger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the sternum's going to do that same movement, but countering.
Okay.
So as I counter the tush, see I counter the sternum.
I see. Oh wow. This
Yeah.
feels really good.
Yeah. So just to see it on me, I'm moving both cameras. So on me, the front movement is like this, but see in me, you can already see where my pelvis is moving in the same position.
Yeah.
I would just have my hand on the back end. Does that make more sense? So I'm
Yeah.
not just here trying to do this. See, it
Yep.
doesn't even look pretty, but I'm doing that kind of movement.
Mm-hmm.
You're so
So
lucky
it's
I'm not
making
shy.
her want to lift up. So she's now.
Yeah,
on
it's
her own.
right. It's going to make her want to lift up. So then that's where you've got your finger by the jaw, or if you have to go underneath and hold the face,
Uh-huh.
you want what you do is 2 fingers on the face.
Uh-huh.
Let's see if I can. Sorry, change my. Try and do it 2 fingers on the face, but see how you can do the hands on the fingers on the clavicle.
Got it.
If that works for her. Now, obviously, you probably can be like this with her because she's tinier than me.
Yeah.
But see how I can still work with that kind of movement and support the face.
Got it. Oh, this is so cool.
Cool. So I can go underneath. Again, I've got my fingers across the clavicles. And then I can start and see. And then with that, you can concentrate. Now in this, Frank's now is moving his elbows as if he's crawling more. Or again, my attention's more with the pelvis, less movement in the chest cavity, where the knees are crawling more, in a sense. That you're setting up that situation. And again, that what goes back into like when I was working on Fong and more of her elbow work and stuff. I can come here now, maybe more with my hand, is if you start seeing like maybe a present or they go reach for a toy. Or again, Frank won't do this because the way he's wired. But let's say if they were reaching for a toy.
When I
What?
go, which way? Like she's kind of moving her knee with her pelvis, which is
Right.
really nice.
Right.
On the right side. Is there anything I should do to kind of elicit that?
Well, that's what we'll work on this afternoon, where I'm going to be showing you more on how to rotate that pelvis and then bring that knee up.
Okay.
And I have that video, that's a video that I have of Graham on the ball. 2.
Which one is that one?
I can send you the direct link.
There's one that he's just playing on the ball, right? Not that
Yeah,
one.
but I'm working with the knees and the feet, on the feet and the going into that crawl.
That would be great if you could send me that video. Okay.
So I can be across the top of the chest. Now if I do this, you have to watch your hand weight. You don't want to be like you're putting all your weight in. What you're going to do is you're across the vertebrae, so you're going to be on the right side. And almost like you're draping or pulling up this way.
Okay.
Okay? So as I'm doing that again, rotation through the pelvis.
So same for this one.
Same, but it's still like this
Oh. Okay.
versus this.
Got it.
So you want that windshield wiper, so they're going in and out. So that way too, again, that head's countering that pelvis. What I want here is this section of the spine to start to again sway back and forth.
I see.
Now again, if this is too much for her or she wants to lift her head more, go back underneath here and just do this movement again, but now you're going across both vertebrae. So your hands spanning like this, you're not on the profiles, but you're across the back as you're working here.
Okay.
And this you might get surprised where you suddenly want to get a head lift, and that's where you can scoop that back and help where they're arching and looking up. If she presents that she suddenly wants to do something.
She does.
So. And another way you can start doing that too is this where coming underneath the pelvis, more so underneath the right hip, and again I'm still here, and again I can touch the lower ribs, and I'm just with my arm, I'll do it opposite so you can get a whole effect of what I'm doing here. So what I'm doing here is I'm coming underneath just over under the hip joint, right?
Okay.
I'm opposing here, and I'm just looking to lift the one side of the chest cavity and the opposite. My objective is again just right here in the vertebrae to torque them.
Okay.
Okay? And I might do it maybe 1, 2, or 3 times, and then I'll go back to that pelvic movement just to see if that made a difference with that middle back or lower back starting to twist more.
So you know how you twist, you were talking about I forgot what you compared it to, the umbrella windshield wiper. Then you do a lot of that rotation where the pelvis, you're kind of turning a lock. If you're turning the pelvis like you're turning a lock, what do you do with the upper body?
Well, that all depends on what you're working on. The lock can be very small.
Uh-huh.
So I can be right here, literally on the little tush, on the lower tailbone. Even if I don't feel the coccyx, obviously from the diaper and a big tush, I still can put my intent there.
Uh-huh.
I can do that again, still here, holding the head and working on that. Because again, when I do a tight thing, I'm looking for, again, crotch shot. Sorry, I don't mean to get you seasick. So if I'm here, see, I can just do this really fine little movement here.
Okay.
That's one way. I can be in here with this hip sit bone and work that kind of a movement. I can be off to the trochanter. This is really nice. Let's see if you can see it. So here, I can be here doing that rotation and see how nicely that little works there.
What would I be doing?
I can do here with the sit bone and bringing it around, or so there's lots of little ways of using that kind of a touch. What's nice too about, again, the kids, you can go underneath them with the sexes, is again that rotation and then here, that little pull. It's not that I'm trying to activate the pubic bone, I'm trying to get that counterbalance of the sit bones. And this is one of the very few movements that you can do.
Okay.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
But this is where, I couldn't go to a grown man and just say, woohoo, party.
Are there any other tips that you would give that help basically like the shoulder communicate with the pelvis?
Well, yeah, you can start doing the same things. You can come underneath here,
Uh-huh.
and do everything I just showed you. Right now I was doing it with the intentions of head and the but here I can just go back and do the whole thing just under the shoulder and do that first move we started out with of just, breathing through the back. But what this will start to do is lift the shoulder and separate the ribs. So.
And how about the neck? I guess she's so weak in the neck. Are there instances where I've seen you kind of pull on the neck one way and then move the body the other, kind of countering using from the neck?
It's not that she's, quote, weak in the neck. It's again, her organization to balance and counterbalance. I still can't even go there that it's because of low tone. Because
have you seen a lot? I mean, her head is so big in relation to her body, but her neck is very small in relation to the rest of her body. Is that just the low tone, or is that how she was born?
That's genetics.
Okay.
So the answer to everything is yes, but I mean genetics, how she's born, but that's where we're at. That's why when people I don't know what this woman's coming to me from, I think it's Montana or whatever, but she's just, I don't know what she's done to her body, and I've got to work around it. I can't fix it.
Yeah.
So with here, I can either be very nicely and working just her head and let her movements do my work.
Okay.
So I can just, as she's doing any kind of little movements, I can work with the head. Now my intention right now, line of sight, is the neck. There's a big difference when you're working, and see how I'm watching the neck function versus if I was watching the pelvic function. See the difference of just my eyes over the body versus now again back to the neck. So I really am.
What is your intention with the neck right now? To just
right now, my whole thing is just like I've been teaching you, is that counter, that organization, anything with the neck. I'm letting her play or Frank play, and I'm just going for a ride. So I'm not grabbing the head. I've just got it in the sense that I'm looking for how the neck is functioning. Once I start to feel that, there's different ways you can do. Now I can either hold the head, but when I hold the head, since I'm working from this side, I need this hand to be free. So I'll have her where, again, Frank's looking at the camera, and I can be back here, and I can go around with the neck this way, or I can start working by pressing into the profiles as I'm lifting the head, or I can scoop underneath, and this is tricky, and I'm going to do it from both sides. The scoop, the pressure is from here, not from the fingers. When the fingers, you're going to hit the esophagus. So with underneath here, so the scoop part of my hand.
Okay.
So I'm going to put her head away from me. So I'm right here like this. So see how my fingers splay against the shoulder?
Yep.
And so my lift, do you see how I can lift the skull from the top part here and from the scoop here? I'm not grabbing the neck at all with my fingers.
Got it.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
So with that, see, I can rotate, press down into the upper vertebrae and bring the head up through the neck.
Got it.
And that's what she's not used to. So see, I can be here, pressing down, I mean, in the upper thorax area. But when I do that again, it's like a scoop.
Got
so
it.
I'm not doing this when I say press down. I'm scooping and bringing the head.
Got it.
But the more I displace my weight, the more it displaces on her.
Okay.
Okay?
How about from the position you were at, like kind of your body?
You always want to work on an area of the body where it's advantageous to her. If I'm going to work on the neck here, I can go like this and scoop her, come in close. Now I can put her head, if I wanted to, now at this point on my knee or a pillow or something like this, Again, I'm still going to be on the top part of the skull. I have to watch how my arm is on the shoulder. I don't want to bear weight. And what I'm going to be doing here is just starting to activate each one of the profiles towards me.
Okay.
So again, I'll do it.
Can I support? Oh, you're supporting it with your knee. I see.
Yeah, I can do it with my knee if I wanted to, or let's say if I had a big pillow here. I mean, again, this is a nice part about working with your kid. If an adult just came into me, I can't say, you know, come on, baby, crawl up into my lap.
Yeah.
But I still want that counter to sit there and go like this. See how I'm not working on function. Now this still might be important. Now I could do it this way. I can rotate my fingers lightly into the upper 1, 2s, and 3s. My hands down around the scapula, so it's just like a block and karate type thing. And I'm just working on that extension through here. So I can do something like this. But I right now really prefer this kind of work where I'm rotating the head at the same time stimulating the neck function.
But when you're rotating the head, are you countering?
I'm always countering. Until she masters those counters, you know. To do same right now was going to make that head seem like it's too heavy and the neck function failure. I want her where she's successful. But I want her to learn that if my neck moves, my head's going to move, which is going to happen. If I'm just sitting here talking, come on in. If I'm just sitting here functioning, you know, my head and all that, look at how my neck counters that whole time.
Yeah.
So,
Michelle,
but I can't just sit here and talk to you and have a stiff neck.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, cool. My son just rode his bike here.
Oh my goodness.
So.
Yeah, because Dad made me.
Yeah, I figured you weren't doing it on your own.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the more and more you think of how you're working, that's what you want out of your who you're working on, your daughter. You know, it's.
Do you think it's worthwhile? Because I am not. You know, I think most people take for granted, unless they've been studying Feldenkrais or doing any sort of body work, that they aren't very aware of what your body's doing. Do you think I should look into Feldenkrais more and do a lot more of the self movement lessons?
They're called ATM, awareness through movements, and they'd always help you. I should be doing them all the time. We can pick on one a week, and we both do them and compare notes and turn it into a lesson, so you can get more bang out of the buck. And then that would maybe make me do it more often. But at the same time, whether I'm doing karate or I'm doing here, I'm always giving myself, you know what I mean? Like I'll sit there and just feel these little detailed movements and try it from one way or the other way. So
I'll quickly do it on myself just to see what it should be doing, but I would love that if you would, if we could help each other do once a week, that would be great.
yeah, it's called openatm.org. There's a whole bunch of them for free.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Hasta mañana. Well, I'll see you too.
2 o'clock. Okay. Have a great time.
Bye. See you guys.